Where does Australia stand on freedom of speech? While I was looking up information on Senator Leyonhjelm for a previous video, I saw that he's advocating for freedom of speech in our country. And that's when I found out that Australia doesn't actually have an explicitly protected form of freedom of speech like America's First Amendment. So what do we have? Now, the closest thing I could find is implied freedom of political communication. This gives us the freedom of public discussion on political and economic matters. And that's not in our constitution, but it was believed to be implied, and that came into effect in 1992 as common law, or judge-made law. But that's it. I couldn't find anything else in our constitution that allowed freedom of speech. And that is terrifying. There is one other thing I did find, and that was in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, something the majority of countries in the United Nations have adopted, including Australia. And while it's a very interesting document to read, I'll focus specifically on Article 19, which reads, "Everyone has the right to freedom of opinion and expression. This right includes freedom to hold opinions without interference and to seek, receive, and impart information and ideas through any media and regardless of frontiers." So, while we as Australians don't have a true freedom of speech law, we do have a freedom of opinion and expression via the UN Declaration. So that's a good thing, right? Not exactly. See, the declaration is not legally binding, and therefore doesn't actually have to be followed. All it does is show the legal norms and what the country is expected to do. And that is, probably, why Senator Leyonhjelm was trying to make changes to the laws as we have them now, because we as Australians don't have a defined or protected freedom of opinion and expression in our constitution, which is a basic human right. Leyonhjelm has put through 3 new bills recently. Check them out.
I've introduced 3 new free speech bills into the Senate, they're private bills, to complement the one bill that I already have on the notice paper in the Senate, which is to repeal Section 18C of the Racial Discrimination Act. My new bills are to remove the words insult and offend, or insult or offend, from 27 bits of existing legislation. You're not allowed to insult or offend a copyright official, for example. Another one seeks to remove various restrictions on free speech in our national security legislation. We've had an absolute poultice of new national security legislation since 2014, and quite a lot of it places restrictions on the media or individuals as to what they can say and do. And the third one is to overcome the fact that there are some things that are completely banned from adults ever watching them, some video type material in particular, from adults are prohibited from looking at it.
So time will tell how that goes. But I cannot agree more that the word offend needs to be removed in certain situations, because these days it seems like it's ridiculously easy to offend someone, even if you didn't mean to. Another point about having opinions at the moment is that the freedom of speech in Australia does not mean freedom from repercussions, nor does it mean a right for others to listen. That's their choice, as is yours to speak. Take, for example, Stefan, Molyneux and Lauren Southern, who will be coming to Australia soon. Now, both are considered to be far alt-right controversial speakers and have had their visas repeatedly delayed because of the things they're going to talk about in this country. Allegedly. Regardless of what they talk about, you can choose to listen or you can choose not to. And you have the right to accept or reject what they are saying and voice your own opinion in turn. Now, while Australia doesn't have a specific law allowing freedom of speech, it does have laws protecting against hate speech of sorts, and that is where these two might run into some legal trouble. As an example, Section 18C of the Racial Discrimination Act of 1975, which is one of the sections Leyonhjelm was trying to change, states that 1. It is unlawful for a person to do an act otherwise than in private if A. The act is reasonably likely in all the circumstances to offend, insult, humiliate, or intimidate another person or a group of people, and B. The act is done because of the race, colour, or national or ethnic origin of the other person or of some or all of the people in the group. Now, the key words in that are, of course, insult and offend. Southern has been very critical of radical Islam and immigrants in the past, and if these points are brought up again when they speak here in our country, they will no doubt insult and offend. In regards to Molyneux, I'm not actually familiar with his works, but just reading some of the backlash he's gotten from speaking about certain topics, I'd imagine he'd be in the same situation. But this brings me to my point. It doesn't matter what they say. It doesn't matter what anyone says or what you say. So long as it's not inciting hatred or violence, people should be allowed to speak. and other people should be allowed to criticize. And that is a very important distinction. Words can offend, but that is very, very different from inciting hate. Now, you can agree or disagree with me. That's fine. Everyone is entitled to their own opinion. I support freedom of speech. I do not support hate speech. You can say you don't like something, and that's your opinion. But saying to harass and attack a group because you disagree with them or you don't like them is hate. Inciting hate because of color, gender, age, race, religion, sexual orientation, ethnicity, anything like that, it's just plain wrong. If you're gonna hate someone, it should be because they've done something immoral or something based on their actions, not on how they're born. I do worry that a lot of people have actually missed the mark quite a bit on this topic. Free speech isn't just about criticizing and protesting or anti-government. Free speech encompasses so much more than that. It's also about being able to speak your mind about anything without being censored. And no one has to agree or disagree with you, but you should be open to dialogue. If you need an example of that, just go look at any comment section of any opinion-based video on the internet. Hell, my comment section is probably going to be filled with some very interesting opinions, so looking forward to that. But as I mentioned earlier, freedom of expression and opinion is a fundamental human right, and without that freedom, society would not change or move forward. Well, that's it. I think that's all I've got at the moment. If you like this video and you want to see more in the future, feel free to click the little red subscribe button down there and give us a thumbs up. If you didn't like the video, give us a thumbs up anyway. It's okay. I'll know what you meant by it. Anyways, have a good one. I'll catch you next time.